Hey guys, Tomboy601, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Tier 6 campaign ship, the Benham. A lot of people are going to be unlocking it this week. It is the end of the current campaign. We're going to be taking a look at its stats, the history behind the ship, a couple of games, and a little bit more, so stay tuned for that. So the Benham, she has four 1 by 127mm cannons, doing a range of 10.8 kilometers with a reload of 3.5 seconds. Her high explosive damage is 1800 with a 5% fire chance and an AP of 2100. Her max HP is 14,790 in my current build with a 6 to 20 millimeters of armor. Her main feature is her 4x4 533 Mark 14 torpedoes with a reload speed of 85 seconds and a damage of 9,233 with a range of 7.5 kilometers at 56 knots. Her max speed is 36.5 knots with a turning radius of 560 meters and a rudder shift speed of around 3 seconds. And with these stats, it does very much put the Benham in line with its Tier 6 tech tree counterpart, the Benson. Of course, remembering though that the Benson does have the Mark 15 torpedoes that do a significant bit more damage than the current ones. That's the kind of only thing I would have wished to have seen on the Benham. But hey, it's still a pretty decent and all-around very good ship. Now let's go ahead and talk about the history of the Benham. Benham was the lead ship of her class and the second ship in the US Navy to be named after Andrew Ellicott Kennedy Benham. She was launched April 16th, 1938, built by the Federal Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company out of Kearny, New Jersey. She was sponsored by Miss A.I. Dorr, the grandniece of Rear Admiral Benham, and commissioned the 2nd of February 1939 with Lieutenant Commander T.F. Darden in command. Initially, Benham was assigned to the Atlantic Fleet and she patrolled off of Newfoundland during most of 1939 and then shifted over to the Gulf of Mexico. She was then ordered to the Pacific. She arrived at Pearl Harbor April 14th, 1940. After alternating between Californian and Hawaiian waters, the destroyer served as an escort for the aircraft carrier Enterprise during the delivery of Marine planes to Midway between November 28th and December 8th, 1941. Those of you that know your history know this means that she kind of escaped the wrath of Pearl Harbor as she was out on that escort mission during that time. Benham served with the Enterprise and Saratoga task forces off of Hawaii with Task Force 16 during the Doolittle raid on Tokyo between April 8th and the 25th of 1942. She then continued operating with Task Force 16 through the Battle of Midway, during which she rescued 720 survivors from the aircraft carrier Yorktown and 188 from the fellow destroyer Hammond. She then went on with Task Force 16 to support landings at Guadalcanal, Tulagi, along with the Battle of the Eastern Solomons. Then Benham joined Task Force 64 on October 15th and remained active in the Guadalcanal campaign for the next 2.5 months. In the Battle of Santa Cruz Islands in late October, Benham was with Rear Admiral Willis A. Lee's battleship cruiser task force, but she did not make any contact with the enemies. However, on the night of November 14th, 1942, Lee led his forces of 2 battleships and 4 destroyers into the narrow waters immediately north of Guadalcanal on a mission to prevent Japanese bombardment of the U.S. airfields there. Benham was one of those destroyers in the resulting second major surface action of the naval battle of Guadalcanal. She was hit in the bow by a torpedo. The whipping effect of this blow severely weakened her midship hull structure, and the next day the destroyer began to break up while withdrawing from the combat area. Her crew was taken on by the USS Gwin, and Benham was then scuttled by gunfire. So that is kind of a brief overview and history on the Benham. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a game. During this game, I am using the commander Mordoff, the recent Halloween commander. I got him in a crate, and he's pretty much a replacement for Halsey, and Halsey is kind of the default when it comes to using American gunboats just because of twist and track, and of course that's kind of what your key job is as the destroyer, is to find other ships, specifically their destroyers, eliminate them, and then be able to pick off. And that's what this game shows. As you can see, we have a very high destroyer and battleship count. So the name of the game is eliminate the other team's destroyers and then start picking off those battleships. And thankfully, that other destroyer kind of popped smoke, giving a kind of a direction as to where we know he is. We do already have twist and track, but this helps us further. Because of this, we can get in close to those battleships and set up our first torpedo run on them, and maybe also find that destroyer. Maybe he's around still and we can start peppering him. We don't want to get too far forward, but we do have another destroyer with us. So between the two of us, I'm fairly confident in our ability to stay kind of safe during getting this far forward. The other commander you could use with this ship is, of course, Burke. I want to play a couple of games with him. I think the next video coming up will be a game in the Benham with the Burke, just because Burke has all of those torpedo skills. He is set up like an American torpedo boat captain, and we haven't really had a torpedo boat for the Americans, and that's what the Benham is. It has 16 torpedoes. It is trading one of the guns from kind of the Benson for 2 extra torpedo launchers, and that's where I'm kind of split on how you want to play the Benham, because the reason I'm using Mordor, sure. The recent Halloween commander is he does boost the reload time of your guns, and you already have very fast firing guns, but in order to be able to in order to kind of make up for the lack of that one gun when dealing with other American destroyers, I wanted a little bit quicker reload, and that's kind of what we got. Now, we saw out of that first torpedo salvo, we got 3 hits on that Japanese battleship. That King George is coming around, and he's going to try to support this Benson. Me and this other destroyer are going to have fairly good luck in taking out the Benson. And once we do that, it will start being easy pickings. That fellow destroyer does lay down some smoke, though we're the only one spying the Benson, so I guess he's probably fairly low in health and needs to hide. We're going to keep spotting. Boom, Benson's down. Now it's time to start our torpedo runs. Looking at the map, as far as our side of the map, we now have 3 battleships, none of them being protected by destroyers. Oop, quick dodge of some torpedoes here. But we have 3 battleships on our side of the map. Our team's eliminated all but one of their destroyers. That destroyer hasn't even been spotted yet, but I feel like we've seen the Fuso, the King George, and that Benson were the 3 ships that spawned on our side. So as far as we're concerned, we're all set up to start trying to take out these battleships and to try to start to make some attack runs. Luckily, right now, it looks like both the first Fuso and the King George are heading towards each other, which means we may be able to kind of set up a full minefield for them to have to run through, and hopefully that leads us to some good hits. So we're just going to go ahead and start firing off these torpedoes, lay down the first 2 salvos, and start flipping that ship around. And hopefully with those going, we'll get these other torpedoes in the water. Just going to run out of time on that King George. But yeah, so beyond that, some stats that I didn't cover in the stat section for the Benham are the concealment. Now, detectability by sea is 5.7 kilometers with a detectability by air of 3.1. You do have the usual guaranteed detectability range of 2 kilometers with a smoke fire. Ooh, there we go. First one down. And a smoke fire penalty of 2.6 kilometers. As far as firing angles, our forward and rear firing guns have a full broadside of about 44 to 45 degrees, which is fairly versatile. And then as far as our acceleration goes, we can get from full speed to stop in about 15 seconds if we need to deploy smoke, and we can go from 0 to top speed in about 27 seconds. Now that last torpedo run did go ahead and start a flood on the King George. He ran out of his damage repair party. Probably used it on the first set of torpedoes we sent his way, and now we've pretty much sunk him. He has no chance. He's gonna go down firing, and we've done it. You know, King George is done. We've eliminated all of the battleships on our side. Our team has done a fairly fantastic job, and now we're just going to start kind of heading towards both their base and those other two battleships. The California looks like he's either on fire or flooding, so he's not much of a threat. The Gneisenau, he's the one last target that really is juicy. We can see that other destroyer launching torps at him. But the Gneisenau played in the back the whole game, which I don't think is really his strong suit. He's a German battleship, high dispersion, sitting in the back of the map, not going to do him a lot of good. Now looking at it, he does look like he's going to try to run towards this island. So instead of chasing him, we are going to try to kind of set up an intercept course. One of the things that the torpedo indicator does tell you is an intercept course. And the nice thing is, it's an intercept course for both you or your torpedo. So if you need to try to meet a ship somewhere where it needs to go, if you follow that torpedo indicator, you will meet at that location about. So if you are trying to get ahead of a location or ahead of a ship, using that torpedo indicator really is a good way to figure out a place where you can intercept and be able to launch torps. Now, it's going to be very difficult for us to launch torps at this Gneisenau just because he's running away, which means we're going to have to get extremely close to him in order for these torpedoes to do anything, just because we do have these slower torpedoes. They are not very fast. They're the lower damaging ones. They are kind of middle of the road torpedoes when it comes to destroyers. So instead of following the Gneisenau, we're going to go ahead and start running through the base. We can see our whole team is kind of collapsing down on the base. So as a player, usually you don't want to make suicide torp runs, but you know, guess what? We have some room to spare. It's time to kind of chase the damage. You're not supposed to, but you know what? At this point, if that Gneisenau can take out the rest of our team, he probably deserves to win. Coming up, one of the things I do really like about the Benham is its ability to just launch torps that you usually wouldn't go for. Because you have 4 torpedo launchers, you can go ahead and launch torps when you usually wouldn't. You would, those kind of lucky, almost like half-court shots, like you wouldn't usually take a half-court shot, but if you get 4 chances at a half-court shot, maybe you would take a half-court shot in basketball. Well, with the Benham, because you have those 4 torpedo launchers, you can go ahead and launch half your torpedoes, and guess what? You still have the number of torpedoes you would usually have on an American destroyer. You know, 2 less with going from quads to quintuples, but overall, we have these extra torpedoes that we can launch. So we're going to go ahead, fire on these 2 intercept courses. Maybe if he continues around, he'll hit those. Now that other destroyer did get spotted, so if he knows what he's doing, he's going to go ahead and start turning out. But we're gonna hope that he doesn't, and he just keeps on kind of sailing in the straight line. We're gonna go ahead and sail straight through the smoke and kind of try to find him. And he did. He turned out. He grounded himself, and now it's just time for our bonsai charge. It's really, you know, hey, you know what, we're going to win this game. We might as well have some fun. It doesn't even look like the main guns are too focused on us quite yet. He's probably spinning around. He launches his torps. I'll be honest, I thought they were facing the other way. Those torps take us down, and we get a decent number of hits on the Gneisenau, and it will be shortly sunk. And that's the game in the Benham. I'm really liking this destroyer. Like I said, I'm probably going to play and post another game using Burke as the commander as opposed to the Halsey slash Mordoff build, just because I think the ship does have the flexibility to be used by either one of those commanders, and it'll be kind of fun to take Burke out of the cupboard because he doesn't get much use. Guys, if you liked the video, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for all sorts of fun content coming your way. My name's TommyBoy61. I hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.